Tonight, let's spend a bit of time going through the stories of Cartethyia. Cartethyia, the wandering knight who travels across Resonators, formerly known as the Blessed Maiden, the vessel of divinity, and the queen of gale and tide. She went by the name Fleur-de-Lis. Now, she is simply a free and unfettered wandering knight. Our first story is titled, The Knight's Fated Hours. Let's get into it. A retired dramatist enjoys telling a certain story. Once upon a time, in the countryside of Eglatown, there was a wandering knight. With sword in hand, he journeyed far and wide in search of a legendary giant. A giant who stood as tall as a windmill, with arms long and slender like its blades. Time after time, the wandering knight fought with everything he had against the giant, but the giant never spoke a word, only ever waving its arms, rendering the knight's attacks futile. Some mocked the knight's foolishness, some pitied his delusion. After all, that so-called giant was nothing more than a windmill, and his battles were but a fantasy. But the countryside's most mischievous girl saw it differently. She found herself a knight's helmet and begged the dramatist for a small wooden sword. To fight such a giant, she said, he must possess a heart of pure nobility. And so she too wished to be like the knight, to seek out the giant who destroyed homes and scattered livestock, and see that the golden thief bats lurking along roads could no longer steal a single treasure from travelers. Riding flamboyantly on a tumble-yak, she raced through the wheat fields. The world had never felt so vast. This was where the Blessed Maiden's legends began, through the fields, through the festivities, and into the inverted tower. It would be a grand quest. Our next story is Steadfast in the Final Dance. This quest continued for some time. In those unnoticed moments, the girl visited every field in the Whisperwind Haven. Mischievous and free-spirited by nature, she even stole sips of sacramental wine under the watch of guards, danced away on high platforms, and turned a solemn ceremony into complete madness. Even the order's prison walls became her personal canvas.
She's really the most rambunctious girl in the countryside,
people would say.
A serious fate isn't one she's meant for, and no wall, no matter how strong, could ever keep her from spreading her wings.
Yet, to everyone's surprise, she was chosen by the divinity. Why her? Some questioned. She was only the daughter of an official, a peasant girl lacking discipline. Not a drop of noble blood ran in her veins. How would she ever come to understand the hierarchies of this world? She is the one, others exclaimed. She listens to our sorrows and replaces them with joy. If anyone is worthy of divinity's crown, it is her. But what would the one bearing the name Fleur-de-Lis think of all this? Before the ceremony, to receive her holy name in a dull and stuffy hall, she performed her final dance as Cartethyia. Was she confused by divinity's whispers, fearful of an uncertain future, confident that she could wield the sacred sword? She simply kept the name Cartethyia hidden deep within her heart. Farewell, grain fields swaying in the breeze, and the tumble-yaks roaming so free. In a world so vast, someone must take up the sword. Someone must bind themselves in thorns. Someone must accept the weight of responsibilities. Someone must become Fleur-de-Lis, the guardian of Resonators. The next story is titled Hesitation Amid Gale and Tide. As Fleur-de-Lis, she must march to war with a sword in hand. For this, she learned everything she could. She studied order scriptures and honed her combat skills, she listened to the voices of the people, devoting herself to fulfilling their wishes. When someone prayed for good health, she arranged for the delivery of valuable medicines. When someone sought peace, she would listen to their confessions, taking in their past sorrows. When a tacit discord outbreak occurred, she drew her sword and crushed it in its infancy. These actions were no different from what she had done back home. The only difference was that she was no longer facing a small village of familiar faces. Most of those seeking her help were strangers, and she understood that each of them was like a small lamp. The more she helped, the more they would shine in the night sky of Resonators. Yet the world was so vast. The order was far from flawless as the books had claimed. The nobility were fixated only in their own interests, and self-proclaimed devout acolytes merely performed their faith, turning a blind eye to the people's cries. She saw nobles who boasted of their good hearts while stuffing their pockets, refusing to hear the pleas of those suffering. At times like these, all she could do was tighten her grip on her sword. She experienced doubt, disturbance, and disappointment, and because of this, her grip only tightened as she faced the dark tide. She would question the divinity. She must. No matter the answer that awaited her, Fleur-de-Lis was ready for it. With this resolve, she walked into the tower, alone. Our next story is Yet Within Solitude. She seemed to have dreamed for a very long time. In that dream, hymns and praises poured toward her in endless waves, engulfing her. She raised her sword to cut through the waves again and again, battling the giant sea creature in those waters. She fought with all her might, even when the waters turned into blades sharp enough to slice flesh. She did not take a single step back. When she opened her eyes, she found herself alone in an unfamiliar place. Where was she? What was her purpose? Who was she? Question whose answers had slipped beyond memory. She wandered the tower in search of what was lost. She even tried to find a way to the central tower to seek answers, but after exploring every corner she could reach, she found nothing but herself. There was no other existence. She was the only soul there. So she began to converse with herself. She stitched dolls from scraps. She invented stories. Curiously, the fog of her memories began to lift, little by little, beneath her fingertips. She made one doll of a sword-wielding girl and another of a sea monster. She muttered a few lines of dialogue between them, then paused. She knew this story. She'd heard it before. The sword-wielding girl had journeyed to confront the terrifying giant of legend. Time and time again, she fought it with everything she had. No matter what the sword-wielding girl was fighting for, she understood one thing. Each time she raised her sword, she did not care about her past. She only cared about what needed to be done at that very moment. And if that were true, then losing her memories was no great loss. In a world so vast, she would find herself again, and when that time comes, whether she turns out to be the warrior or the monster, it's an answer she would be willing to accept. We're moving into our final story. The wandering knight marches to freedom. Inside a small restaurant in Whisperwind Haven, a young girl orders several Laris salads. While waiting for her food, she quietly sneaks into the kitchen, following the head chef and carefully observing her culinary techniques. A few more of these Viscum berries, please. Ah, yes, and another. You can add more honey as well. Yes, thank you. And where did you come from, little rascal? If you're waiting for your food, You need to wait outside. The head chef puts down her utensils and looks up, pausing in astonishment. The girl before her seems familiar, but she can't quite place a name. I'm so sorry. I just wanted to pick up some of your cooking skills. I have a long journey ahead of me, and I might not have the fortune to come across a restaurant serving such delicious food again. If my apology isn't enough, I'll chop some firewood for you instead. Is this your first time eating at our restaurant? I have a feeling I've seen you before. The head chef hands the curious girl her food. Was it perhaps from the stained glass window? This isn't my first time, actually, but it's been quite a while since I last visited. The girl replies, taking the plate. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Cartethyia. I'm a wandering knight preparing for a new quest. If you ever need help, do let me know. I just had to try this before I began my journey. The girl scoops up a spoonful of salad and takes a bite. In a world so vast, a salad full of viscum berries made the beginning of her journey feel just right. How delicious, she praises from her heart. And that concludes all of the Cartethyia stories we have. If you made it this far, I just want to take the time to thank you, and don't mention my voice acting. I was kind of struggling. But yes, if you are still here, thank you. Peace.